Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you gave them a key to your home, only to have that trust shattered in the most unimaginable way? My name is Marlo, and I'm a 29-year-old financial analyst living in Portland, Oregon. What I'm about to tell you sounds like something out of a daytime drama, but I swear on everything I hold dear, this actually happened to me on September 14th, 2024. The day started like any other Saturday. I kissed my fiancé Blake goodbye as he headed out for his monthly fishing trip with his buddies, grabbed my laptop bag, and headed to the office for what I thought would be a quick 4-hour shift to finish up some quarterly reports. I had no idea that while I was crunching numbers in my downtown office, my own mother was orchestrating the most brazen act of betrayal I could ever imagine. When I returned home at 2:47 p.m., yes, I remember the exact time because it's burned into my memory, I walked into my living room and literally froze in the doorway. My mouth went dry. My hands started shaking because my entire living room was empty. Not robbed empty, not burglary empty, but deliberately, methodically emptied. My $8,200 Italian leather sectional sofa, gone. My $3,200 marble coffee table from West Elm, vanished. My custom-made entertainment center that cost me $2,500, disappeared into thin air. The discovery. Let me paint you a picture of what I walked into. You know that feeling when you come home and something feels off, but you can't quite put your finger on it? Multiply that by 1,000. The indentations in my cream-colored carpet showed exactly where my furniture had been just hours before. There were scuff marks on my hardwood floors near the doorway, evidence that heavy items had been dragged out. Even the carefully arranged throw pillows I'd bought from Pottery Barn were gone. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 30 seconds, my brain trying to process what my eyes were seeing. My first thought was that I'd been robbed. My second thought was confusion, because nothing else was gone. Not my TV mounted on the wall, not my expensive artwork, not the designer lamps, not even the small valuables sitting on the side table in the hallway. Just the furniture, every single piece of my living room furniture. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I dropped my laptop bag right there in the doorway and pulled out my phone with trembling fingers. I was about to dial 911 when I noticed something that made my blood run cold. There, on the kitchen counter, the only piece of furniture in the open concept space that remained, was a handwritten note on my mother's distinctive lavender stationery. The note read, "Marlo, honey, don't worry. I used the spare key you gave me. Vivian really needed furniture for her new place, and you've always been so generous. I knew you wouldn't mind helping your little sister out. She's been through so much with the divorce. I'll call you later. Love, Mom. P.S. Blake called while the movers were here. I told him you asked me to help Vivian. XOXO. I read that note 3 times. Then 4, then 5. Each time the words seemed more surreal, more impossible. My mother, the woman who raised me, who taught me right from wrong, who always preached about respecting other people's property, had just stolen $13,800 worth of my furniture and given it to my 25-year-old sister Vivian as a gift. The backstory to understand the full magnitude of this betrayal. You need to know about my relationship with my family. I'm the oldest of 2 daughters. Growing up in a middle-class family in Eugene, Oregon, I was always the responsible one, while Vivian was the charming, free-spirited daughter who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. I was the one who got straight A's, worked part-time jobs through high school and college, and never asked for anything. When I graduated from University of Oregon in 2018, I moved to Portland and started building my career from scratch. I lived in a studio apartment that barely fit a twin bed and a desk. I ate ramen noodles for dinner more times than I care to admit. I took the bus to work for 3 years to save money. Every single thing I own I worked for. Nobody handed me anything. My living room furniture wasn't just furniture to me. That Italian leather sectional, I saved for 18 months to buy it. I remember the day it was delivered, March 3rd, 2023. I literally cried tears of joy because it represented everything I'd worked so hard for. That marble coffee table? I bought it after getting my first big promotion in June 2023. The entertainment center was custom made by a local craftsman, and I'd spent months designing every detail. Meanwhile, Vivian took a different path. She got married at 21 to a guy named Derek, whom our parents adored, despite the fact that he had no job and no ambition. They paid for her lavish wedding, $35,000 worth of celebration that I couldn't even afford to have as a bridesmaid because the dress alone cost $400 when Vivian and Derek needed a down payment for their house in 2022. My parents gave them $25,000. When Derek's business venture, which was really just day trading cryptocurrency, failed, my parents covered their mortgage for 6 months. I want to be clear, I never resented Vivian for getting help. She's my sister and I love her. What bothered me was the double standard. When I asked my parents for a loan of just $3,000 to help with my car down payment in 2020, my dad gave me a lecture about learning financial responsibility and told me I needed to stand on my own 2 feet. I paid for that car entirely on my own. Vivian's marriage fell apart in June 2024. I'm not going to lie and say I was surprised. Derek had been cheating on her with a coworker for 8 months. It was messy, it was painful, and yes, I felt terrible for my sister. When she called me crying at 11 p.m. on June 18th, I drove to her house and stayed up with her all night. I helped her pack. I helped her find a divorce attorney. I even let her stay in my guest room for 2 weeks while she figured things out. But here's where it gets complicated. When Vivian's divorce was finalized in early September 2024, she got the house in the settlement. The fully furnished, mortgage-paid-off house that my parents had helped them buy. She sold it immediately for $385,000, pocketed the entire amount, and decided she wanted to start fresh in a trendy loft apartment in downtown Portland, right in the Pearl District, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the city. When she told me she was moving into a $2,400 a month loft apartment, she works as a part-time yoga instructor making maybe $1,800 a month. I gently suggested that maybe she should find something more affordable and save her divorce settlement money. She told me I was being negative and unsupportive. My mom defended her, saying Vivian deserved to treat herself after everything she'd been through. The immediate aftermath back to September 14th. I'm standing in my empty living room, holding this absurd note from my mother, and my phone starts ringing. It's my mom calling as if on cue. I answered on the second ring. "Hi, honey." Her voice was so cheerful, so casual, as if she'd just called to chat about the weather. "Did you get my note?" I couldn't even form words for a moment. When I finally spoke, my voice came out as barely a whisper. "Mom, what did you do?" "What do you mean?" "I helped Vivian move some furniture into her new place. You know she got that beautiful loft apartment, and it was completely empty. She was sitting on the floor, Marlo. Your own sister was sitting on the floor eating takeout because she didn't have any furniture. So you took mine?" My voice was getting louder now. "You took my furniture? Without asking me? You used the key I gave you for emergencies to break into my home and steal my furniture?" "Steal? Marlo Jean Patterson, don't you dare use that word with me. I'm your mother, and it's not stealing, it's family helping family. You've always had everything, and Vivian has been through so much. I thought you'd be happy to help your sister." I literally couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mom, that furniture cost me almost $14,000. I saved for years to buy those things. You had no right." Oh, here we go with the money talk. "You know, Marlo, not everything is about money. Vivian is your baby sister. She needed help. You have that big salary and that fancy fiancé. You can just buy new furniture. But Vivian is starting over from nothing. She has $385,000 from selling her house." I was shouting now, pacing back and forth across my empty living room. "She has more money than I've ever had in my life, and she's living in an apartment she can't afford. This is insane." My mother's tone changed from cheerful to cold in an instant. "You know what? I should have known you'd react this way. You've always been selfish, Marlo. Ever since you were little, you've always had to have everything your way. Your father and I raised you better than this. Vivian is crying right now because I told her you'd be happy for her, and now I have to tell her that her own sister is throwing a fit over some furniture." Some furniture? Some furniture? I was seeing red now. "And I'm selfish? I let her stay in my guest room for 2 weeks. I helped her pack. I stayed up all night with her when Derek cheated. And this is how you both repay me? You know what, Marlo? I don't have time for this drama. The furniture is at Vivian's now, and it looks beautiful. She's so happy. Maybe you should think about someone other than yourself for once. I'm hanging up now. Call me when you've calmed down and come to your senses." She hung up on me. My own mother hung up on me after stealing $13,800 worth of my belongings and then calling me selfish. Blake's return, I sat down on my carpeted floor because I literally had nowhere else to sit. And I just started crying. Not gentle tears, but full-body sobs. That's where Blake found me when he came home at 4:15 p.m., 2 hours earlier than expected because apparently my mother's comment about helping Vivian had worried him enough to cut his fishing trip short. "Babe? Marlo?" He walked in and saw me sitting on the floor in an empty living room, and his face went white. "What the hell happened? Are you okay? Were we robbed?" Between sobs, I managed to hand him the lavender note. I watched his expression change as he read it. Confusion, disbelief, anger, then absolute fury. "Your mother did what?" Blake is normally the calmest person I know. I've seen him handle million-dollar deals at work without breaking a sweat. But in that moment, I watched him turn red, his jaw clench so tight I could see the muscle twitching. "She took your furniture? All of it, while we were gone?" I nodded, still crying, and gave it to Vivian. "The same Vivian who just sold a house for nearly $400,000? I nodded again. Blake pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the police. This is theft. Grand larceny. I don't care if she's your mother." I grabbed his arm. "Blake, wait. She's still my mom. I can't send my own mother to jail. Marlo, she robbed you. She used your trust, your key, your goodwill, and she robbed you blind. This isn't some minor disagreement. This is a felony. He was right, and I knew it. But the thought of pressing charges against my own mother made me feel sick. Let me try to talk to them first. Please, just give me a chance to fix this without involving the police." Blake agreed, reluctantly, but made me promise that if we couldn't resolve it by the end of the weekend, we were filing a police report. I agreed. The family meeting, I spent the rest of Saturday evening trying to call Vivian. She ignored every single one of my calls. I sent text messages. Nothing. I finally sent her one that said, "I need my furniture back by Monday, or I'm calling the police. This isn't negotiable." She responded immediately with, "Wow, really showing your true colors, sis. Mom was right about you." Sunday morning at 9 a.m., I received a text from my dad, who had apparently been filled in on the situation by my mother with her version of events. "Family meeting at our house. 2 p.m., be there." I showed up at 1:55 p.m. Blake wanted to come with me for support, but I told him this was something I needed to handle alone. That was probably a mistake. When I walked into my parents' house, the same house I grew up in, with its familiar smell of my mom's lavender potpourri and my dad's coffee, I found my mom, my dad, and Vivienne all sitting in the living room with their arms crossed. They looked like a unified front facing down an enemy. I was the enemy. "Sit down, Marlo," my dad said in his stern, "I'm disappointed in you" voice that I hadn't heard since I was a teenager caught sneaking out. I sat down on the armchair across from them, my hands folded in my lap like I was a child about to be scolded. My dad continued, "Your mother has told me everything. I have to say, I'm very disappointed in how you've handled this situation. Vivienne is your sister. She needed help. Your mother was trying to facilitate that help. And instead of being grateful that your sister has furniture, you're threatening to call the police? On your own mother?" I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "Dad, Mom took $1,300 worth of my furniture without my permission. That's theft. I don't care who she gave it to or why. She had no right to do that." Vivian spoke up for the first time, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "See? This is exactly what Mom said. You're obsessed with money. It's just furniture, Marlo. I'm your sister. Don't you want me to be happy?" "Of course I want you to be happy." I could feel my voice rising again. "But not at my expense. You have $385,000 from your divorce. You can buy your own furniture. That money is for my future." Vivian shot back. "I'm not going to blow it all on furniture when you have plenty and could easily afford to buy more." "That's not the point. It was my furniture. I worked for years to save up for it. I picked out every single piece. And Mom just gave it all away without even asking me." My mother jumped in, her voice sharp. "I knew you wouldn't say yes if I asked. You've always been stingy, Marlo. Even as a child, you never wanted to share your toys. Remember when you were 7 and you refused to let Vivian play with your birthday Barbie? I was 7, Mom, and that Barbie was mine, just like this furniture is mine. When are you going to understand that I'm not required to give Vivian everything I own just because she's my sister?" My dad held up his hand. "That's enough. Here's what's going to happen. The furniture is at Vivian's apartment now. It's already arranged in her space. Moving it again would be expensive and difficult. You're going to let Vivian keep the furniture and we'll reimburse you for some of the cost. I stared at him in disbelief. Some of the cost? It's worth $13,800. We'll give you $5,000, my dad said firmly. That's more than fair. The furniture is used now anyway, so it's not worth full price. You'll take the $5,000, buy some new furniture, and we'll all move past this. No. The word came out of my mouth before I even fully processed it. No, I want my furniture back, or I want full reimbursement. $13,800, and I want an apology. My mother actually laughed. It was a cold, mocking laugh. An apology? You want me to apologize? For helping your sister? You are unbelievable, Marlo. Your father is offering you $5,000, which is generous considering you should have just given the furniture to Vivian in the first place. Take the money and stop being so difficult. I'm not taking your money. I'm taking my furniture back, or I'm calling the police tomorrow morning. Vivian started crying. Real tears this time, or at least they looked real. I can't believe this. You're really going to send Mom to jail? Over furniture? What is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with all of you? You stole from me. You used my trust against me. And now you're trying to make me feel like I'm the bad guy for wanting my property back? My dad stood up, his face red with anger. If you call the police on your mother, you are no longer welcome in this family. Do you understand me? You'll be making a choice. Your family or your furniture? Choose wisely. I stood up too, grabbed my purse, and headed for the door. Before I left, I turned around and said, I already have chosen. I choose self-respect. I choose boundaries. And I choose not to be a doormat for people who think family means they can steal from me without consequences. You have until 8 a.m. Monday morning to return my furniture. After that, I'm filing a police report. I walked out and didn't look back. The police report Monday morning, September 16th, 2024 at 8:01 a.m., my phone was silent. No calls, no texts, no furniture delivery. At 8:15 a.m., Blake and I walked into the Portland Police Bureau's Central Precinct on Southwest 2nd Avenue. I felt like I was in a dream, or more accurately, a nightmare. I never imagined I'd be filing a police report against my own mother. The officer who took my statement was a woman in her 40s named Officer Ramirez. She was kind, patient, and completely professional. She didn't judge me when I started crying while explaining what happened. She just handed me tissues and waited. This happens more often than you'd think, she told me gently. Family theft is actually quite common. And yes, even though she's your mother, this is absolutely theft. Grand theft, actually, since the value exceeds $1,000. I gave her copies of all my receipts for the furniture. I'd kept everything because I'm meticulous about my finances. Every receipt, every proof of purchase, all scanned and saved in a folder on my laptop labeled Major Purchases. I showed her the text messages. The note my mother left. Everything. Do you want to press charges? Officer Ramirez asked. I hesitated for what felt like forever. Blake squeezed my hand. Finally, I nodded. Yes, I want to press charges. The officer nodded and began filling out the paperwork. We'll send officers to speak with your mother and your sister today. They'll be given the opportunity to return the property voluntarily. If they refuse, we'll proceed with formal charges. The fallout 2 hours after filing the police report, I received a text from my father. How dare you? You've destroyed this family. Your mother is hysterical. Vivienne is traumatized. I hope you're happy. Then my phone started blowing up. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, all texting and calling to tell me what a terrible person I was. My mother had apparently sent out a mass message to the entire extended family explaining that I had sicked the police on her for trying to help Vivian, conveniently leaving out the part where she stole nearly $14,000 worth of my belongings. I received messages like, family is more important than furniture. Aunt Linda, your mother is heartbroken. You should be ashamed. Uncle Tom, Vivian is your sister. How could you do this to her? Cousin Rebecca, I always knew you were cold, but this is a new low. Aunt Patricia. Only 2 family members reached out to get my side of the story, my maternal grandmother and my cousin Jake. When I explained what actually happened, Grandma Rose was furious. Not at me, at my mother. Your mother has always babied Vivian, Grandma Rose told me over the phone, and she's always expected you to pick up the slack. This is wrong, honey. What she did is wrong. You stand your ground. That phone call made me cry harder than I'd cried all weekend. At least someone believed me. At least someone saw the truth. That afternoon, 2 police officers showed up at Vivian's apartment. According to the police report I received later, Vivian answered the door, saw the police, and immediately started crying and claiming she didn't know the furniture was taken without permission. She said my mother told her I had agreed to give it to her as a housewarming gift. The officers explained that she had 24 hours to return the furniture or face charges for possession of stolen property. Vivian called my mother, who then called my father, who then called a lawyer. By 6 p.m. that evening, I received a call from a lawyer named Mr. Henderson, representing my mother and sister. He explained that his clients were willing to settle this matter out of court and would return the furniture in the interest of family harmony, but they wanted me to sign a document stating that I would not pursue any further legal action or discuss this matter publicly. I told him I'd think about it and hung up. Blake and I discussed it that evening. Part of me wanted to refuse. Why should I sign away my right to talk about what they did to me? But another part of me just wanted this nightmare to be over. We compromised. Through Blake's attorney friend, I had a counter document drafted. I would agree not to press additional charges beyond what was already filed, but I would not sign any non-disclosure agreement, and they had to pay for all moving costs to return the furniture to my home. They also had to provide written apologies from both my mother and Vivienne. Mr. Henderson called back the next day. My clients agreed to pay moving costs and return the furniture. However, they're not comfortable providing written apologies as that could be construed as admissions of guilt. Then there's no deal, I said. The furniture gets returned with apologies, or we proceed with criminal charges. Your choice. There was a long silence. Then, I'll discuss it with my clients. The return. 3 days later, on Thursday, September 19th, 2024, a moving truck pulled up in front of my house at 9 a.m. Blake took the day off work to be there with me. We both wanted witnesses to the condition of the furniture when it was returned. The movers, hired by my parents' lawyer, brought in every piece. The sectional sofa, the coffee table, the entertainment center, even the throw pillows. I carefully inspected everything. There were some new scratches on the coffee table, a small stain on one of the sofa cushions. The entertainment center had a dent in the back that hadn't been there before. I documented everything with photos and video. Blake made notes of all the damage. The movers were apologetic, explaining that they were hired to move the furniture, but had no idea about the circumstances. After the movers left, a courier arrived with a FedEx envelope. Inside were 2 handwritten letters and a check for $2,300 to cover repairs and depreciation value of the damage, an amount we'd agreed upon through our lawyers. My mother's letter was brief. Marlo, I'm sorry that this situation escalated to involving police and lawyers. I was only trying to help your sister during a difficult time. I hope we can move past this someday. Mom. That was it. No acknowledgement of what she actually did wrong. No real apology. Just sorry this escalated, as if the problem was my reaction, not her actions. Vivian's letter was even worse. Marlo, I'm sorry you felt hurt by this situation. I never meant to cause problems between you and Mom. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive us and remember that family is forever. Love, Vivian. Sorry you felt hurt. Not sorry I hurt you or sorry we stole from you. Sorry you felt hurt. The classic non-apology apology. I stood in my living room, surrounded by my returned furniture, holding these pathetic excuses for apologies, and I felt empty. I'd gotten my furniture back. I'd even gotten money for the damages. But I hadn't gotten what I really wanted. Acknowledgement that what they did was wrong. A real apology. Understanding. Blake wrapped his arms around me from behind. You did the right thing, he whispered. Standing up for yourself is always the right thing. Moving forward, it's been nearly 2 months since what I now call the furniture incident. My living room looks beautiful again, though I had to get the coffee table professionally repaired and had one of the sofa cushions reupholstered. Every time I look at this furniture now, I have mixed feelings. I love these pieces, but they're also reminders of the day my mother betrayed my trust. I haven't spoken to my mother since the furniture was returned. She's called a few times. Always. Late at night, always leaving voicemails that say things like, I hope you're not still upset, or I miss you, honey, call me when you're ready to move past this. She still doesn't get it. There is no moving past this without genuine accountability. My father sent me a letter last week asking me to be the bigger person and reconcile with my mother for the sake of family unity. I haven't responded. I don't know if I will. Vivian texted me on October the 31st saying, "Happy Halloween! Miss you," as if nothing had ever happened. I didn't respond to that either. The extended family has mostly stopped harassing me, though I'm definitely not invited to Thanksgiving this year. Grandma Rose has invited Blake and me to spend Thanksgiving with her instead, and we've accepted. Cousin Jake and his wife will be there too. It'll be a small gathering, but at least it will be with people who respect boundaries. The hardest part has been processing the grief, because that's what this is, grief. I'm grieving the relationship I thought I had with my mother. I'm grieving the fantasy of having a supportive, respectful family. I'm grieving the version of my sister who I thought would always have my back. Blake has been incredible through all of this. He's never once said, "I told you so," even though he warned me years ago that my family took advantage of my generous nature. He's just been supportive, patient, and protective. We've started going to couples counseling, not because we're having problems, but because we want to make sure this situation doesn't create resentment or issues down the line. Our therapist has been helpful in giving me tools to set and maintain boundaries with my family. I've also started seeing an individual therapist to work through the betrayal and the complicated feelings around cutting off contact with my mother. Some days are easier than others. Some days I miss her so much, it physically hurts. Other days I'm so angry, I can barely think straight. The bigger picture. Here's what I've learned from this experience. First, family is not a free pass to violate boundaries. For years, I'd been conditioned to believe that being a good daughter and sister meant always sacrificing my own needs for theirs. I'd been taught that saying no to family was selfish. This situation finally made me realize that real love respects boundaries. Real family doesn't steal from you and then make you feel guilty about being upset. Second, you can't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. I spent years watching my parents pour resources into Vivian while expecting me to be self-sufficient. I told myself it didn't matter, that I was strong enough to handle it. But it did matter, and pretending it didn't just allowed the pattern to continue and escalate. Third, sometimes the right thing is also the hardest thing. Filing that police report was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Every instinct in my body screamed that you don't call the police on your mother, but if I hadn't done it, my mother would have learned that she could violate my boundaries without consequences. Vivienne would have kept my furniture, and I would have spent the rest of my life being a doormat. Fourth, not everyone who shares your blood is family, and not everyone who's family shares your blood. Grandma Rose, Cousin Jake, Blake, these are my real family. These are the people who stood by me, who believed me, who supported me even when it was uncomfortable. My mother and sister may be blood relatives, but they weren't acting like family. Finally, you are not responsible for other people's reactions to your boundaries. My mother's hysteria, my father's anger, Vivian's tears, the extended family's judgment, none of that was my responsibility. I didn't destroy the family by filing a police report. My mother destroyed the family when she decided to steal from her own daughter. Where things stand, ow. As I'm writing this on November 9th, 2024, I still haven't reconciled with my mother or sister. I don't know if I ever will. Right now, I'm focusing on healing and building a life surrounded by people who respect me. Blake and I have started talking about moving to a different neighborhood, maybe even a different city. Not because I'm running away, but because I want a fresh start somewhere that doesn't have painful memories on every corner. I've also been working with my therapist on something she calls grieving while they're still alive. It's this weird space where my mother and sister are physically fine and walking around in the world, but the relationships I had with them are dead. I'm learning to mourn those relationships while also accepting that this might be permanent. Some days I fantasize about my mother having an epiphany. In this fantasy, she calls me and says, "Marlo, I understand now. What I did was wrong. I violated your trust and your home. I prioritized Vivian's wants over your rights as an individual. I'm truly sorry, and I want to make this right. But I know that's probably never going to happen. People like my mother, people who've spent decades believing they're always right, rarely have those kinds of realizations. My life is moving forward. Blake and I are planning our wedding for June 2025. Grandma Rose has offered to help pay for it. which is generous and touching, though Blake and I are planning to pay for it ourselves. We're keeping it small, just people who've proven they actually care about us and respect our relationship. I've been promoted at work. I'm making more money than ever before. Blake and I are talking about buying a house next year. On paper, my life looks great. And most days, it feels great too. But there's this ache that I don't think will ever fully go away. The ache of knowing that the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally didn't love me enough to respect me. A message to anyone going through something similar. If you're reading this and you're going through something similar, maybe not identical, but in the same painful family of experiences, I want you to know you're not crazy. You're not overreacting. Your feelings are valid. When family violates your boundaries and then makes you feel guilty about being upset, that's called gaslighting. When they steal from you and then tell you that you're selfish for wanting your property back, that's manipulation. When they use the concept of family as a weapon to make you comply, that's abuse. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep your family warm. You are not required to give everything you have to siblings who refuse to help themselves. You are not required to forgive people who hurt you just because they're related to you by blood. Setting boundaries doesn't make you a bad person. Standing up for yourself doesn't make you selfish. Protecting your property and your peace doesn't make you cold. It's going to hurt. It's going to be lonely sometimes. You might lose relationships you hoped you could keep. But I promise you, on the other side of that pain is something valuable. Self-respect. The knowledge that you stood up for yourself. The confidence that comes from knowing you won't be a doormat anymore. And here's the thing nobody tells you. When you start setting firm boundaries, you find out who really loves you and who just loved having access to you. The people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. The people who only valued what you could do for them will disappear. And that's okay. Better to have a small circle of genuine supporters than a large crowd of takers. Final thoughts. 13 Stortita Fragercio by an 800 furniture is back in my living room. But the cost of this experience was so much more than money. It cost me my relationship with my mother, at least for now. It cost me my relationship with my sister. It cost me my place in my extended family. It cost me my innocence. That naive belief that family will always have your back. But it also gave me something valuable. Clarity. I now know exactly who I can trust and who I can't. I know my own strength. I know I'm capable of making hard choices and living with the consequences. I know I can stand alone if I have to, though thankfully I don't have to because I have Blake, Grandma Rose, and a few other people who've proven they're worth keeping in my life. Was it worth it? On my hardest days, I'm not sure. But on my good days, when I'm sitting on my beautiful sectional sofa that I worked so hard for, wrapped in Blake's arms, planning our future together, I think yes, it was worth it. Because this furniture, this life, this peace, I earned it. And nobody can take it away from me again. To my mother, if you ever read this, I don't hate you. I'm just done being disrespected. The door to reconciliation is open, but it requires something you've never been willing to give me. Genuine accountability and real change. To my sister Vivienne, I hope that loft apartment brings you happiness. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for. But I hope even more that you learn that happiness built on someone else's sacrifice is hollow. To everyone else reading this, protect your peace, guard your boundaries, and never ever give someone a spare key to your home if they don't respect the person who lives there. The unexpected update, I was going to end this story there. I really was. But something happened on November the 7th, 2024 that I have to share because it's too significant to leave out. I was at work, finishing up a presentation for a client meeting, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Normally I don't answer unknown numbers, but something made me pick up this time. Marlo? It was a woman's voice I didn't recognize. This is Patricia Donovan. I'm a friend of your Grandma Rose. She gave me your number. I hope that's okay. My heart immediately dropped. Is Grandma okay? Did something happen? No, Rose is fine. I'm calling because, well, this is awkward, but I think you should know. I was at the grocery store yesterday, and I ran into your mother. We got to talking, and she mentioned that whole situation with the furniture. Marlo, honey, I need you to know that she's been telling people a very different story than what Rose told me actually happened. My stomach clenched. What is she saying? Patricia hesitated. She's telling people that you gave Vivian the furniture as a gift, then changed your mind and demanded it back. She's saying you called the police on her because she wouldn't help you force Vivian to return a gift. She's painting herself as the victim who got caught in the middle of a fight between sisters. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Of course she was. Of course. There's more, Patricia continued. She's also been telling people that you're planning to sue her for money, even though she already gave the furniture back. She's making it sound like you're trying to extort her. That's not true. None of that is true. I know, honey. Rose told me what really happened. I just thought you should know what's being said. Especially because your mother is planning a family Christmas party and she's telling everyone that you're no longer welcome because of your behavior. After I hung up with Patricia, I sat at my desk for a long time. Part of me wanted to call everyone in my family and tell them the truth. Part of me wanted to post the police report on Facebook for all to see. Part of me wanted to scream. But then I realized something. I don't need to defend myself to people who've already decided to believe my mother's lies without ever asking for my side of the story. The people who matter, the people who took the time to ask me what happened, already know the truth. Everyone else? They're not my problem anymore. The real lesson. You know what the hardest part of this whole experience has been? It's not the loss of the relationships. It's not even the betrayal itself. It's accepting that my mother is never going to be the mother I needed her to be. For 29 years, I kept hoping that if I was good enough, successful enough, understanding enough, she would eventually see me as valuable. I kept thinking that eventually she would be proud of me the way she was proud of Vivian. I kept waiting for her to defend me the way she defended my sister, but that's never going to happen. Not because I'm not worthy of it, but because my mother is incapable of giving it. She's so invested in her role as Vivian's protector and champion that she can't see how much she's failed me as a daughter, and that's her loss. Not mine. I am smart, successful, kind, and strong. I built a life for myself without handouts or shortcuts. I have a man who loves me unconditionally and respects me completely. I have friends who value me. I have a career I'm proud of. I have a grandmother who thinks I hung the moon. My mother can tell whatever lies she wants to tell. She can paint me as the villain in her story. She can have her Christmas party without me and pretend she's the victim. None of that changes the truth. None of that changes who I actually am. Blake's perspective. I asked Blake if he wanted to add anything to this story, and here's what he said. When Marlo and I started dating 3 years ago, I noticed pretty quickly that her family treated her differently than they treated Vivian. At first, I thought maybe I was being too sensitive or too protective. But the more time I spent around them, the more obvious it became. Marlo was always the one expected to be understanding, to compromise, to sacrifice. Vivian was always the one who got excused, defended, accommodated. And what killed me was watching Marlo accept it as normal. She genuinely believed that's just how families worked, that the responsible kid gets less because they don't need as much. When this furniture thing happened, I was furious. Not just because of the theft, but because it was the culmination of 3 decades of this pattern. And when Marlo wanted to try to work it out with them before involving the police, I was terrified she was going to let them walk all over her again. But she didn't. She stood up for herself. She drew a line, and I've never been prouder of anyone in my life. I know she misses her mom sometimes. I know she wishes things were different. But I also know she did the right thing. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure she knows that she's valued, respected, and loved exactly the way she deserves to be. 1 year later, an epilogue. Note from Marlo. I'm adding this section on September 14th, 2025, exactly 1 year after the furniture incident. A lot has happened, and I thought anyone following this story might want to know how things turned out. Blake. And I got married on June 21st, 2025. It was a small ceremony with 40 guests, just the people we genuinely love and who genuinely love us back. Grandma Rose walked me down the aisle. I cried happy tears for the first time in months. My mother, father, and Vivian were not invited. My mother sent a card anyway, one of those generic congratulations on your wedding cards from the grocery store with a $50 check inside. No note, no explanation. Just a check, as if money could paper over everything that happened. I donated it to a domestic violence shelter. We bought a house in August, a beautiful 3-bedroom Craftsman in Northeast Portland. We changed all the locks the day we moved in. Nobody has a spare key except Grandma Rose and Blake's parents. I bought new living room furniture in July. Different style, different store, different everything. I sold the furniture my mother stole. Yes, I still think of it that way. On Facebook Marketplace. I couldn't look at it anymore without remembering. A nice young couple bought it for $9,000. They were so excited about it. I hope it brings them joy without trauma. In March 2025, Vivian's loft apartment lease ended. According to Grandma Rose, who still talks to my mother occasionally, Vivian couldn't afford to renew and had to move back in with my parents. She's apparently burned through most of her divorce settlement money. Karma, maybe, or just consequences. My mother tried to reach out to me on my birthday in May. She left a voicemail singing happy birthday and saying she missed me. She still hasn't acknowledged what she did wrong. I'm in therapy every other week. I'm working through the grief, the anger, the betrayal. Some days are harder than others, but I'm healing. The most surprising thing that's happened is that 3 of my cousins have reached out to tell me their own stories of being mistreated by my mother over the years. Apparently, I'm not the only one she's hurt. There's some comfort in knowing I'm not alone, though it's also sad to realize how many people she's damaged with her behavior. Do I think I'll ever reconcile with my mother? Honestly, I don't know. Right now, I'm not interested. Maybe someday, if she ever takes real accountability. But I'm not holding my breath. What I do know is this. I made the right choice. Standing up for myself, setting boundaries, refusing to be a doormat, those were the right choices. My life is better without people who don't respect me, even if those people are related to me by blood. I'm happy, really genuinely happy. My marriage is strong. My career is thriving. My mental health is improving. My future is bright. And that sectional sofa, the new one I bought, it's beautiful, it's comfortable, and most importantly, it's mine. Really, truly mine? Nobody can take it away from me. Nobody can make me feel guilty about owning it. Nobody can use it as a weapon against me. It's just a couch. But it's also so much more than that. It's a symbol of my freedom, my boundaries, and my self-respect. And that's worth more than any piece of furniture ever could be. Final thoughts. If you've read this entire story, all 4,000 plus words of it, thank you. Thank you for witnessing my experience. Thank you for not judging me for calling the police on my mother. Thank you for understanding that sometimes the right choice is also the painful choice. To everyone dealing with toxic family members, you're not alone. You're not crazy. Your feelings are valid. Your boundaries matter. And you deserve to be treated with respect, even by the people who raised you. To all the mothers out there, please, please love all your children equally. Don't pick favorites. Don't expect one child to always sacrifice for the other. Don't teach your children that family means accepting abuse without complaint. To all the sisters and brothers, you are not your sibling's keeper or bank account or furniture store. You can love your siblings without letting them take advantage of you. And to anyone who's ever been told they're too sensitive or making a big deal out of nothing when someone violates their boundaries, you're not. What happened to you matters. Your property matters. Your peace matters. You matter. One last thing. Someone asked me in a comment on a forum where I shared a shorter version of this story, do you regret giving your mother a key to your house? Here's my answer. No, I don't regret it. Because if I hadn't given her that key, I might have gone my whole life never knowing who she really was. I might have kept trying to earn her love and respect. I might have kept sacrificing myself for people who would never appreciate it. That key didn't create the problem. It just revealed it. And now that it's been revealed, I can finally heal from it. So no, I don't regret the key. I regret that I needed such a painful lesson to learn what I should have known all along. Blood doesn't make family. Love, respect, and boundaries make family. My real family is smaller now, but it's healthier. It's genuine. It's built on mutual respect rather than obligation. And honestly, that's all I ever wanted.